we don't have their attention as long as you just issue a report. I mean, you get it for a day or two, and we put out a press release, and they put out one saying it doesn't happen, and it just goes on. You get their attention when you sanction them. When you put an economic penalty associated with their human rights abuse that has been ongoing for years, and they have been feckless or ineffective in dealing with it, this is the only way you get their attention. It's, kind of similar to dealing with a kid. After you tell them don't do it for enough different times and they keep doing it, at some point in time there has to be some sort of penalty that gets associated with it to get their actual attention, to maybe persuade them to move and to change. And that's what we've got to start doing, I think, more effectively in these areas. And to me, it's also, you pay a little price now to keep from paying a big price later. These are indicators of situations where you could get a failed state or where you could get a genocide. You could get a genocide of Christians in West Africa. This is setting up. And you're just kind of going, oh, well, we don't want to hurt Nigeria's feelings, or we think it's mostly about a conflict between farmers and herders, or it's an ethnic conflict, or it's this or that. You get all these sort of excuses that people want to say. But at the end of the day, what's happening is you've got a lot of people of faith, of a different faith, that are being attacked, the Christians being attacked, that's where you end up with a genocide.
Sam Brownback, former ambassador at large for international religious freedom, joining us today at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Orlando, Florida. This is the Meeting House here on Faith Radio. Well, there are a couple of different topics I want to cover as we begin to wrap up our conversation today. One has to do with the nation of China, and something that you and I were talking about just a few minutes earlier before we started this actual conversation has to do with what is called the social credit, I guess you could say social credit system in China. And when you look at some of the trends that we have seen around our world, especially in light of and following the COVID-19 pandemic and some of the, well, let's just say it, authoritative measures that have been taken, it's almost, you see a threat to people of faith. And if you think, well, this can't happen, we'll look over to China, because people's livelihood is tied into the decisions they make, and people of faith, Christians in the nation of China, as part of this social credit system, hey, they're getting docked, they're getting restricted because of the decisions that they make. And it's like, look at China. This is something that is very attractive, it seems like, to leaders worldwide.
And one of the harshest ways that you can get your credits reduced is to be religious. Mm-hmm. You go to the mosque in Xinjiang, you name a child a religious name, you grow a beard, as a number of Muslim men do, you get marked down as radically religious, your social credit score goes down, and it tars your entire family. You can basically really, you can do a number of other things to get a bad social credit score. You can commit a crime, you can do some other things. But religion's the one activity that most of us would look at as a good thing for a society, that you get a bad social credit score there, that we don't want to see that trend go global, that people of religious conviction get scored down on their social credit. And the next thing China is moving to is to digitize their currency. Mm-hmm. And once you do that, then if you get a bad enough social credit score, then all your money can get turned off. And then you're in a real pickle of how you, and anybody calls you on your cell phone gets associated with you and can get their social credit score lowered. So it becomes an isolation tool, and also one where people can use, the peer pressure of your friends and your associates to push against you. Don't go to the religious services. Don't go to the mosque. Don't go to the church. You're hurting all of us. And people start backing away from their faith for that reason.